Have you ever tried memorizing lists of vocabulary only to forget them the next day? Or maybe you spent hours repeating the same vocabulary without knowing how to actually use it? Well, the truth is, this method doesn't work anymore. And in my video, I want to share my best ways to learn English vocabulary naturally and effectively without endless repetition or cramming. So tip number 1, learn words in context. The first tip is actually quite simple, but it's really useful and powerful. You need to learn new words from the context, because every word can slightly change its meaning depending on the situation or context or the sentence. For example, if you're reading a book and you come across the word you don't know, you don't have to translate it straight away. Try to guess what its meaning might be before checking the dictionary. Tip number 2, focus on collocations, not single words. Collocations are the combinations of words which go together. So you learn the words as part of a phrase, and it makes it easier for you to remember the whole phrase, to remember the language and use it fluently, because it helps you sound more natural and confident in English, and that's actually what native people usually do. And it also saves your time because you immediately apply it into real life situations, into real context, real life conversations, and so on. And instead of saying the word success, you can find the phrase achieve success, or for example, you can say meet with success or considerable success. And you know, it's much easier to remember achieve success than just trying to figure out how to use the word success on its own. Tip number 1, notice patterns. Try to pay attention to how the words are grouped together. Tip number 2, use collocation dictionary. These collocation dictionaries usually help you expand your vocabulary, and you can see how to use these collocations in a practical way. Also, this dictionary contains natural word combinations, so that's a great help for you to master them. Practice with flashcards. You can create flashcards with entire phrases, not just single words. That would be much better, and it's easier for you to memorize them. Tip number 4, always try to apply new vocabulary, new phrases in your daily life, in your daily routine. Try to apply it in your speaking and writing. When you see something new, try to make a sentence with it. And that would be great if you can connect it to your real life situations. So you will create these connections in your brain, and that will make it easier for you to memorize the phrases. Don't translate every word. Here's the mistake that learners usually make. They are trying to translate every single word they see. It's really tempting to use the dictionary when you're watching a movie with subtitles or reading a book, and you think like, oh my god, tomorrow I will know 50 new words, and in 3 months I will be a fluent English speaker. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, because every time you try to look the word up in a dictionary, it actually slows down your progress, and you lose the pleasure from reading. You don't have it anymore, or from watching. Your brain perceives it as studying process, not as pleasure. Because if you stop every time when you try to translate the new word, which you may not actually remember tomorrow, it just slows down your progress, and you're dependent on your native language. Instead, you need to focus on understanding the bigger picture. First one, it's insufficient. Stopping to translate every word breaks the flow of reading and listening, and you also want to get the pleasure from it, and this thing will quickly make you annoyed and lead to burnout. Your goal should be to think in English, not just to constantly translate something and rely on your native language. You have to learn how to think in English, how to analyze the information, how to perceive the information. And number 3 is just unnecessary because you can often guess the meaning of a word from the context, and it actually improves your critical thinking and comprehension skills. If a word appears several times in a text, that's probably a sign for you that you need to look it up. For example, if you keep seeing the word resilience, it's probably enough to learn. Translate selectively. Remember, you don't need to understand every single word. Instead, you need to aim to understand the overall meaning of the text. This helps you develop the ability to think in English. By avoiding over-reliance on translation, you will not only improve your English level, your comprehension skills, but also you will build confidence in your ability to understand English naturally and your ability to speak English fluently. So number 4, choose content you like. Whether it's books or movies or podcasts, make sure it's something you really enjoy. Why does this work? Engagement. Your brain is more focused and retains more information when you are interested, when you're involved in something what you're reading or listening to. Next one, that is effortless learning. When you love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like studying. You just do it with pleasure. You do it with delight and you're happy and you're engaged. So as you see, it's connected to the previous one. Back in school, I was obsessed with the Vampire Diaries. The episodes came out in English, but the translations were delayed until the next day. But I just couldn't wait. I wanted to see them, and the only way was to watch them in English. Even though I didn't understand everything, every week I watched the full episode of the Vampire Diaries in English. And over time, I started recognizing common words and phrases. And after a year of doing this, my English improved dramatically. And it didn't feel like studying at all. I was just engaged in what I was doing. I was really involved. I was really into it. I loved what I was doing. And that was interesting and exciting for me. You might not see the result in a week, but you will definitely see it in a year or so. That's the practice I always do with my students. At the first lesson, they don't understand listening at all, but over time, in a year, I turn on the recording and they understand almost everything. And as I see, practice makes perfect. So, how to find content you love? For example, books. You need to choose the genre you really like and you're excited about, like mysteries or romances or maybe psychology. For example, I'm really into psychology. I like reading it in my native language as well as in English. So that helps me a lot. So try to find something which really excites you. Next one, movies and series. You need to watch the shows that interest you. If you understand that it's difficult, you may start with English subtitles if you feel like you need them. But again, you don't have to translate every single word. Podcasts. You need to explore topics that you really passionate about. For example, that could be travel or maybe psychology or personal development or technology. That could be anything, but please choose something that you really find delightful. Your brain absorbs the language effortlessly when you're engaged, so you are enjoying the process and at the same time you are making the progress in English. That's what you have to do. You just need to be interested in what you are doing. That's the whole secret of improving your English, of learning your English. So let me know in the comments which tip are you excited to try the most. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.